This conference will now be recorded.
So thank you everyone again for joining us. We will go ahead and have all of this sent to you after the presentation. This is our virtual open house, and we're also going to be diving deeper into coaching independence and what does that look like for everybody. So just to give you a quick rundown of what we'll be covering today. Again, we're going to be touring Chula Vista. We do have two locations, San Diego, Carmel Mountain, and Chula Vista, which has opened, was opened last summer. So we're excited to give everybody a tour. And then we'll go into what is independence, and then how executive function skills is tied to independence, and of course, tips and tricks on how to coach, guide, and train your children to being more independent, and then also how it is that brain balance can help. And if there are any additional questions at the end, we will go ahead and answer those for you as well. So to give you a little bit of an overview on our brain balance program, so we are research-based, drug-free, holistic program. We're really working on building those connections in the brain through sensory, motor, cognitive, and academic stimulation. And we work with students anywhere from age 4 all the way up to adults, because really the brain can continue to grow at any age as long as you continue to challenge it. So we'll give you a little bit more information on details on our brain balance program a little bit later. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a tour. So I'm gonna take myself off the camera so that I can show you a much larger view here. Oh, wait. So is everyone able to see?
No, it's still screen sharing.
Oh, hold on. There it goes. So when you walk in, our Chula Vista Center is in the heart of Chula Vista, so on 3rd and F. And so when you walk in, we have our front desk here. So with COVID, we do take temperature checks as well as sanitize everybody's hand. And then here we do have our lobby, which we do ask all of our parents for the meantime to wait outside just because of our COVID protocols. But this is where parents come in. I am in here. This is usually where I meet with our parents to go over progress updates and let them know how their children are doing in program. And then this is also where the kids will take off their shoes and get ready for their program. So we go through this hallway here. We have my office here so that I can tell, or I can go ahead and see all of the students before their session. And then we also have this room here. So in this room, students are doing over 30 different exercises. So they work for 30 minutes in this room doing a lot of physical, sensory, fine motor skills. So you can see the balls there to which are used for core. We have our balance beam, spinning chair to work on the vestibular system. We do coordination activities as well. We work on fine motor skills, gross motor skills, and they're doing exercises in here for 30 minutes. And then once they're done with that, we go into this room here. Turn on the lights there for you. So they go into this room here where they're working on the visual system, academic skills, cognitive skills, and then we also have our interactive metronome to work on rhythm and timing. So there's various activities that they work on here. And it's a very fast-paced environment. We really want to make sure that we're challenging them with all those different activities, all those different levels, to really make sure that they're getting the most out of their program. Let me see, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. So like I mentioned, there's tons of activities that they do during their session. And what's really important is that they're working on all the various activities simultaneously so that we can really build those connections in the brain. And so we work with anyone who is diagnosed or not diagnosed with various different challenges. Really what we're looking at is those symptoms are behaviors of things that are happening underneath all of that. So really we're working on helping you understand your child, what those struggles are, and exactly how it is that we can help them. So I want to be able to understand our audience a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and have everybody put in the chat box, what is independence to you? So everyone is going to be different. Everyone has different goals, different expectations of, what that independence looks like. So you want to make sure that we can target everyone in the audience. So if you can please put in there, what is independence for you? So being able to do things by oneself, that is ultimately the goal, yes. To be able to have and do life without someone there to be holding you accountable. Any other thoughts on independence? And it's going to vary from family to family, especially depending on what those struggles are that you're seeing. So it can be anything from, students not turning in their homework at school, or, a lot of families that I work with, a lot of the challenges come from being able to get ready in the morning, having all of those things happen. Everything's so fast paced in the morning. So being able to control those emotions that are happening in the morning, or even, just being able to organize yourself. So thank you for sharing that. So my next question is going to be, why is it important to you? Again, that why is going to be important. Why is it so important for you, your family, or even to get your child to be independent? Why is that important to you? And so when you put it in the chat box, if you can go ahead and put that either to everybody, or you can also just send it specifically to Kenny or myself so that we can read it if you want that to be more private. But why is that important to you? We'll just do another few seconds here. So pride and self-worth. Yeah, you want to feel confident. You want to be able to stand up and say, all your accomplishments. So that's a pretty big deal. So in order to be able to understand independence, really we have to dive deeper into executive function skills as well. So executive function skills are all the little things, all the little tasks and skills that you need to be able to feel independent, like completing tasks, being able to prioritize your day, being able to really do anything in life. So we're going to dive deeper into independence and executive function skills to really help you understand, again, your child as a whole. So in order to understand that, we're going to talk about the brain. So the brain is the engine for really everything that we do, but the executive function skills are going to be the driver of that engine. So really being able to take in all the information visually, all the different senses, all that information coming in, it needs to be processed, and then being able to really push forward the behaviors that are necessary to complete those tasks. So it's going to be really important to, again, be able to regulate all of that information coming in so that you can be independent, being able to manage things on your own, being able to complete tasks, whether it's chores, completing tasks. Everything really does have to come from those executive function skills. So the way that we do that is, again, building those connections in the brain. We have two different hemispheres. They're both very different in function, The left is our gas pedal, our go-getter, the academic learner. The right side is the bigger picture, the brake pedal. It's the social emotional side. So very different functions, but very complementary to each other. So a lot of times we can definitely see that we have strengths and challenges. We're not perfect, but what we want to see is that we're able to make those connections on our own so that we're not struggling so much. And so what we do here in our program is really make sure that we're building those connections in the brain. But also if you start to see some of those challenges start to come up, like, not being able to regulate emotions, or you're just not being flexible, just being very rigid when it comes to transitions, behaviors, coordination, socially being able to make friends, all of those are going to be early signs that there's something else going on. And so, like I said, each side is going to be very complementary to each other, but if there's anywhere where there's a lack of connectivity, you're going to see different symptoms, different behaviors come up. So you really do see that left and right brain weaknesses, and those behaviors are associated with a left or right brain imbalance. And so what's important is really getting to the root cause of everything. Again, that connectivity is really going to happen by being exposed to different situations, really making sure that we're, exposed to different environments so that we can learn different situations, different perspectives. So it's really important to, again, be exposed, even if there are struggles. Giving children that ability to make those mistakes so that they can then build those connections, build that relationship, and then that helps with that connectivity in the brain. So again, we do have research with the University of Cambridge that has seen that students or children who struggle in various different areas is usually because of that weak connectivity. So what we'll go over today is how it is that we can continue to build those connections by giving your children that guidance and exposing them to different situations so that they can continue to build those connections, build that relationship between action, consequence, reward. It's really making sure that everything is connecting and that they're really able to comprehend. So like I said, the good thing is that the brain can change as long as we continue to challenge it. So we're going to dive deeper into executive function skills. Chanel's going to go ahead and give you more details on this, as well as tips on how to work on it.
All right, awesome. So like Angie mentioned, think of the executive functioning skills as the driver, right? So these are skills, they're mental skills that are needed to manage our daily tasks, our goals, long-term and short-term, as well as our behaviors. And the great thing about executive functioning skills is just that. They're skills. We can practice them, we can work to improve them, and we can develop them over time. So even as adults, there are still areas that we can improve in. And as we go through different parts of our lives, different jobs, school, this and that, you kind of have strengths and challenges that change over time. And here you can see executive function can show up in a lot of different ways. It could be behavior, it could be our ability to control our impulses or be able to self-regulate. And it also encompasses mental flexibility and motivation as well. And I'm sure you've already heard of the more familiar ones like memory, organization, and time management too. So in looking at the tips to coach independence, parents are going to play such a big role in helping your children sort of gain that independence, right? It's not something that they're born with or that they even really have experience with before you are able to allow them and provide them with that structure and that support. So it really is a gift that you can give your children that they'll cherish and benefit from for their entire lives. So let's get into it. All right, so we are going to focus on ability appropriate expectations. In the next coming slides, you'll see that they're broken down into age ranges. which is, again, a general guideline. You may have a 4-year-old who's performing maybe higher or maybe lower, but it's kind of up to you to determine and adjust according to their ability. So we do want to keep it at an ability appropriate expectation. We also are going to talk about learning to let go. Obviously, that's a lot easier said than done. But what we do want is to prepare both you and your child to build in those scaffolds and scaffold your support over time. So this can look like maybe starting with 5 prompts to get them up and get their morning routine started. A couple days later, maybe now we're doing 3 prompts in the morning, eventually getting down to 1, and ultimately getting to 0, right? Because that's where we can see independence. That's what we're looking for. And that's going to take time, it's going to take practice, but it can be done. With structure and routine, we want to use structure as a means to reduce anxiety. If you build that structure into the day, your child will know what to expect. And then once they get familiar with that and kind of learn what to expect each day, you can start to teach and pre-plan those differences or those last minute changes, because they do happen, right? You have all of a sudden you have a doctor's appointment and they need to be able to understand that we're not going straight home from school, we have to go somewhere else. So you can start to foster that independence and flexibility and learning how to prepare. Offering choices is a big one that we're going to talk about throughout all the different age ranges. And it's really important to just get your child involved in that decision-making process, especially with the tasks that they'd rather not do, right? So instead of asking them, you know, hey, it's time to get ready for bed, do you want to put your pajamas on? You're probably going to get a flat out no, right? So instead, maybe we can ask something like, hey, it's time to get ready for bed. Do you want to wear your red pajamas or do you want to wear the blue ones? Right? So we can also do that with the older kids with homework. Do you want to do it before dinner or do you want to do it after dinner? For you, the homework and the pajamas are non-negotiable, but you're giving them that choice and that say within what you want them to do. We do also want to acknowledge both achievements and failures. It's really easy to acknowledge when they're doing something well, because that's what we want to see. But it's equally important to help them through those failures, embracing those mistakes, because it is going to happen, and learning what they can do differently next time. And another important aspect too is having them avoid being fearful of failure, which can cause a lot of stress and anxiety. At first, they're going to need a lot of guidance with this, of course, but with practice, eventually they'll be able to do it independently. So taking, you know, the examples of maybe losing a game or failing a test, really looking at the steps leading up to it, so they can talk it out with you, whether it's something out of our control or something maybe they could have just done better, honestly. Both situations, they need that exposure and help with processing through it so they can make the necessary changes for the next time. And something we always say here at Brain Balance, instead of saying practice makes perfect, we like to say practice makes progress, just to further kind of push that growth mindset. So with exploring or exploration, they don't know a lot of things that they like or what's out there. So we can kind of help foster their curiosity in a safe and healthy way. And as parents, we can be open to those interests and open to the exploration as part of that process. And lastly, for this slide, we have positive reinforcement. So it's really, really great to say, you know, you did great today, great job. But it's better to be specific when giving that positive behavior feedback. So instead, maybe we can say something like, I know you didn't want to do your homework because you were tired, but you did such a great job of pushing through and taking those breaks when you needed it. You know, that was really great. That was awesome. And you finished. So really connecting those pieces too of working hard to reach those goals and taking breaks and all that. All right, so here you can see again, age ranges 2 to 4, 5 to 8, but focusing more on the ability appropriate expectations. So for the earlier ages, we want to focus on connecting rewards with responsibilities. This is sort of that first step of introducing responsibilities, right? So it's important for getting them to do things they don't want to do. I know a lot of participants submitted questions about how to get your child to complete homework or complete chores, and we'll touch on those in the next couple slides where we talk about the middle school ages. But for the younger kids, you can start very simple. cleaning up after play, right? We're making it part of the activity. So now every time we play, they expect the cleaning process afterwards, right? And I know someone asked about attention span for this age, which you can find on our website, but for kids 4 to 6, it is about 12 to 18 minutes. But again, go by what you're observing and gradually increase with time. For the 5 to 8, we want to start increasing those responsibilities. Real chores, right? We can create a visual chore chart and get them excited to be a helper. Let them be excited that they have a job and a role in the household. And instead of them having to wait for you to tell them what they're supposed to do, they can look at the chart with you and start to build that independence and allowing them to feel that responsibility. And growth mindset is so huge for independence. We can foster with something, again, like we were saying, practice makes progress, and really focusing on effort over outcome. We want to see that they're trying and we want to acknowledge that. So they may not be folding the laundry into perfect squares, right? But that's okay because they're engaged, they're showing interest, and they're doing their best. That's what we want to kind of focus on. So again, with more practice, they're just going to get better, and we're starting to build that self-efficacy of I can do this. Lastly, with emotional literacy, we want to start helping them label those feelings at the 5 to 8 age range, understanding and allowing them to feel them, as well as problem solving, right? Finding those coping mechanisms, coping strategies. Today, we just had a student who was having meltdowns in the middle of our activity. And, I stopped him and said, hey, I know it looks like you're upset. Can you tell me what's wrong? I can't read your mind. So by giving him that opportunity to tell me what was wrong, and then I could give him the label of, yeah, it sounds like you're mad, or you didn't like this, or you didn't like that. Really starting to help teach them those labels to match their feelings. For the 9 to 12, we're starting to increase those responsibilities, allowing them to make simple meals. And then with more complex chores, we want them to start doing things that they see you do every day, taking out the trash, putting laundry away, whatever it is, it's going to be important for their everyday, life, and let them take pride in those roles. Maybe it's supervising the younger siblings. Someone mentioned having a wide age range of children and how to get them all on the same page. We can really emphasize that everyone has a job in the house and how the older kids can maybe support the younger kids and kind of work together and kind of work as a team. For the next slide, we have 13 and up. So now we're getting into more elaborate chores. We want them to take more responsibility with things that matter. If it's dinner, maybe they can help you wash and cut the vegetables with your supervision, helping clean the bathroom, helping siblings with chores again. Whatever it is, we want them to feel accomplished for doing things on their own that are really important to their everyday life. And then again, you can reinforce that behavior because that's the positive behavior you're seeing with that specific feedback. During this age, 13 and above too, we also want to start facilitating that pre-planning. We want to include them in the process of those pre-planning steps. Maybe they're going on a school trip, or you're going on a family weekend trip or activity. Let them gather those necessary items. Let them be a part of the process. So once that activity has completed, they can kind of feel the accomplishments of the outcome. And then again, with letting go, here we want to go for influence instead of control, right? And I know that can be really difficult, but we do want to still continue offering those choices. Let them learn for those mistakes, but celebrate the wins as well. And really not buying into the arguments. Instead, we can encourage them to give the pros and cons of a certain situation, give them that space to find their independence, and then them actually wanting to come to you for guidance, right? By including them in the conversation and the decision making, they're feeling heard, and this kind of allows them to hear you out as well.
And I know that that's easier said than done, letting go, but definitely try that. It helps them feel like one of the other participants put, sense of pride, and that's what we want, for them to feel confident in their actions and what they're doing. So
Even just letting them talk it out and you kind of give your opinion at the end, at least they had that chance to say what's on their mind and feel that sense of responsibility within whatever the situation is. So with executive functioning, it's good to know what areas of EF they may be struggling with. And we do have this really cool questionnaire that we'll share out with you at the end of our presentation. I know a lot of participants also submitted challenges with time management. So this could be a lot of things, right? And this questionnaire can help you and your child better understand what parts of executive functioning they struggle with. So yes, it might sound like it's time management, but what is that really looking like for them? It could be task initiation, or maybe they can start assignments, but they can't quite finish them. So that would be something like sustained attention. So this tool is really helpful to help them self-reflect with your input and perspective as well. And the nice thing about it too is it gives you a snapshot of some of the strengths, but also the challenges as well, with a nice sheet of the definitions and explanations of each of the executive functioning skills. And yeah, so we'll be able to share that out with you as well.
Thank you, Shana. I know that we're running out of time, so I'll kind of go a little bit quicker with these next few slides. But if you, like I said, if you've already tried some of these things at home and they just haven't worked, or if you take some of these things and tips that we've shared with you today and you apply them over the next few months and things are still a struggle, things are still a challenge, I definitely recommend doing one of our comprehensive assessments so that, again, we can look at everything as a whole, really look at development, see where exactly those holes and gaps are, and to really help you understand why it is that your child is struggling and really individualize that program so that we can set them on the right path to thrive moving forward. So for our comprehensive assessment, just like I walked you through that room, we do over 30 activities. We're really looking at primitive reflexes and, again, how they're processing all this information. So this will really unveil a lot of questions and answers as to why they're struggling. And we also do a cognitive assessment as well, again, to make sure we're looking at all the different areas and see how they process that information. So our assessment is usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours a max, and then we're able to really give you those results the following day so that, again, we can give you those answers that you're looking for. Our assessment is normally $195, but as a part of the presentation, if you mention this, we will give you an assessment special, so it's going to be $145. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, or we will also reach out to you in the next couple of days. And again, we'll also be sending you an email with the recording and additional resources as well to help you get on the right track. So this is one of the success stories that we have. We have a ton of success stories on our website, so I definitely recommend taking a look at that. And there's also our research studies on there as well, one of them being Harvard Medical School research that looked at ADHD and students who went through our program, and they saw significant change in focus and attention. So that is on our website as well. Cambridge Brain Sciences has looked at students that have also gone through our program and looked at 12 different cognitive tasks, and there was significant changes in that as well. So again, it's really building these connections in the brain that will help with building those long-lasting skills so that they can be independent. And of course, mental health is very important to us, especially with everything going on right now. It is just more important now than ever. And so we are happy to say that there has been, 40 to 50% improvement in all of these different areas of mental health. So please stay connected with us. These are additional books that you can find on Amazon as well. Disconnected Kids gives you just more information on our program. It gives you tips in there as well as Reconnected Kids. But feel free to either give us a call, email. If you know of someone else who could benefit from this information, please feel free to also introduce them to us. Or you can share the resources that we've provided, that we will be providing you tomorrow. And again, we do have additional events coming up. If you're interested, we hope to see you all there. So we have the Brain and Learning Challenges on February 17th. Oh, let me say February 17th, 2 different times, one in the morning, one in the evening. We do have our adult program as well, so we'll be giving you more information on that. ADHD and behavior, a very popular one. And of course, there's additional resources on our YouTube page. If you go to Brain Balance of San Diego, we have additional webinars on our website as well. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to open it up to any questions that you have. I want to respect your time, so I want to just open it up to any questions if we haven't answered them already. But thank you all for your time today. So there's a question, what type of exercises do we recommend? So it's going to vary just depending on what the challenges are that you're seeing. But if you have someone who's very hyperactive, who has a ton of energy, I definitely recommend aerobic exercises. So that can be anything from doing jump roping, it could be doing jumping jacks, even doing relay races, doing something fun like wheelbarrows. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with that, but you have the student go on their arms on the floor and you pick up their legs and have them walk with their hands. So that usually is using a lot of the larger muscles. So with the aerobic exercises, just having them use large muscles to really get them to use their whole body, coordinated movements is all going to be really helpful in stimulating that parasympathetic system, which helps their body just to regulate those behaviors a little bit better and calming system in our body. Great question. Any other questions on independence? Any struggles that you're seeing in the classroom, at home? I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add, Chanel, with the exercise recommendations.
Oops, no, I think that was a great suggestion. I know a lot of parents have said doing that in the morning has helped with the energy levels at school. So even just getting them kind of going in the morning, doing some jumping jacks even to kind of get it out of their system has been really helpful for the classroom. So
Yeah, thank you. So there was a question on why do we recommend a metronome. So rhythm and timing is a big part of our program as well, because there's just multiple things that you're having to process. And so again, the more areas that you're working on simultaneously, the more that you're having to activate different areas of the brain, and then therefore helps drive connections and development. But metronome really also helps with timing. So if you are someone who struggles with organization or prioritization, being able to follow multi-step instructions, really bringing in that timing piece is going to help with that, because you're having to organize different areas of the brain to all work together. Does that make sense? But yeah, that's why it is that metronome or that timing piece is so important. And you can introduce that into just tasks that you're doing at home, whether it's like you tying it back to the exercises. If you're doing jump ropes, trying to have a metronome that you're following a tempo to, or even, if you're doing push-ups, again, not doing it so fast, but following a tempo and speed, maybe doing 3 seconds on the way down, 3 seconds on the way up. And again, it's having that control as well. So I hope that helped answer your question regarding the metronome. So how to improve processing speed. So with processing speed, one thing that you can do, there might be other things going on that are causing that challenge, but one thing that I would try is maybe having them repeat back, maybe not giving them 5 things to do or 5 instructions, but reducing that maybe to two things or 3 things, and then having them repeat back to you what it is that you just said. Anything else, Chanel, regarding processing?
No, I think that was good. Sorry, I was typing in the a response for another question.
Yeah, I would try that in terms of that processing. Or I don't know if you wanted to just elaborate a little bit more on where it is that that challenge is happening with.
Oh, hi, this is Sandy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, hi. So my kid, and she has a big discrepancy between her IQ and processing speed, and her IQ is 99.7 percentile. Her processing speed is 75 percentile. And what I heard is this discrepancy can cause a problem because she think too much, think ahead of her, but then her executive function just cannot catch up. And it turned out, she's very slow finish up her homework, and she, especially for writing, it's very hard for her. And she always think, but then nothing can be good enough for her standard. So that's the problem. So she's struggling finishing up her homework. So I think I don't know what can I do to make her do things faster. Just like the biggest thing seems like she need to feel relaxed, and she should give up on her perfectionism. But I don't know how can I convince her to do that.
Yeah, so there might be underlying things going on. So I would definitely recommend doing an assessment to start with, because if there's just too many things going on, or maybe even just all the different systems, whether it's a visual system, auditory system, if they're not able to all process information at the same speed, then that's where we see challenges come up, because there's just no way for her to really be able to keep up with all the information. And so that's where, those challenges come from. So definitely, we'll continue to chat. We'll definitely give you a call to get a little bit more information and provide a little more details as to how we can continue to help your daughter.
Okay, thank you. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I already made an appointment.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll see you soon. So another question was, what should be done if positive reinforcement doesn't work or isn't understood? I would try having charts too, if that's something that you haven't tried, so that maybe the child can see that reward, or even just simply checking things off can be very rewarding. So even doing that, so that they're able to understand what it is, setting those clear expectations as to what it is that you need them to do, and then at the end of the day, that reward that they get for being able to accomplish their tasks. Let me see if there's any other. So there's a question on neurofeedback, if that's something that we recommend for treatment. So that's something that I have seen some families do. So it can definitely be helpful doing it in conjunction with the brain balance programs. I would definitely encourage doing that if that's available and that's possible. Yeah, I have seen that be very successful with some families. Are there any other questions that I missed? Well, I wanted to thank everyone. And again, we're going to be emailing everybody the recording for today's presentation, and then also attaching some helpful resources for everyone, just like charts, and then some of the information that we went over today. So I hope everyone finds that helpful. And again, we'll be reaching out in case you have any additional questions. But I do want to thank everyone for your time, and we hope to see you in our following presentations. Hope everyone has a great night. Thank you, everyone.